Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're skipping the usual small talk and jumping right straight into some truly fascinating historical detective work. We're going to decode a fundamental concept in Islamic scholarship, specifically within the science of Qur'anic exegesis, which you might know as tafsir. We're putting a magnifying glass over a historical lens known as Asbāb al-Nuzūl and discovering just how completely it can alter our understanding of a text. To get us started, I want you to imagine grabbing your phone right now and reading a text message completely out of context. Imagine finding a text that just says, "Do it now," without knowing who sent it, what it is, or what was even happening when they hit send. You could get the meaning completely wrong, right? You might think it's an angry demand from your boss when it was actually just an enthusiastic cheer from a friend watching a game. Well, those same high stakes apply, but literally on a massive scale when we are reading ancient sacred texts. Let's look at a mysterious historical clue to really see what I mean here. The text reads, "And you threw not, O Muhammad, when you threw, but it was Allah who threw." If you just read this as a standalone phrase, it sounds highly cryptic, doesn't it? I mean, it's a total paradox. How can someone throw but not throw at the exact same time? Without knowing the background, this is nearly impossible to decipher. It feels like an unsolvable riddle. Okay, let's dive into this. To solve riddles exactly like the one we just heard, scholars use a highly specific tool. In the science of tafsir, there's a critical term called Asbāb al-Nuzūl, which is also referred to in the sources as Shān al-Nuzūl. Basically, this refers to the specific incidents, purposes, or issues that served as the background or the catalyst for the revelation of particular verses. Think of it as the essential historical lens for our investigation today. It gives us the precise why and when right behind the what. Now, according to the source material, the verses of the Qur'an are generally divided into two main types based on the nature of their revelation. First, you have verses that were just revealed entirely on their own, meaning there was no particular incident or issue that prompted them. But then, you have a second category, verses revealed due to a specific purpose, issue, or catalyst. And for this second group, knowing that specific background, the actual occasion of revelation, is an absolute necessity if you want to correctly interpret what the text is actually saying. So the crucial point is, why is this background so incredibly significant? Well, the source text outlines a very clear scholarly consensus on this. First up, it's considered a necessary condition for interpretation, period. Second, without having this background right in front of them, a commentator runs the severe risk of understanding a verse completely, totally wrong. It also clarifies really unique phrasing. It helps scholars discover the wisdom behind why a divine command was issued in those exact circumstances, and it decodes brief historical references that would frankly be lost to time without it. We can really see this dynamic in action when we look at the before and after effect this has on clarifying the language of the text itself. Now, what's really interesting about this is how context actually rescues words from seeming completely irrelevant. The sources note that the Quran often employs words and phrasing that are deeply connected to the specific event occurring at that very moment. If you were to read them in a total vacuum, those words might appear, and I'm actually quoting the source here, useless or out of place. But when you read those exact same words with the knowledge of Asbāb al-Nuzūl, those seemingly odd words suddenly possess a deep, logical, and profound connection to the event. The environment actively shapes the phrasing. Let's actually put this into practice and bring back that mysterious clue from earlier. "And you threw not, O Muhammad, when you threw, but it was Allah who threw." Without context, remember, we were totally stuck on this paradox. What is being thrown? Why in the world is the language framed this way? Let's solve it together right now using our newly acquired historical lens. Here is the highly satisfying aha moment. The sources reveal that the catalyst for this specific verse was actually a precise moment during a battle. The verse isn't just some abstract mystical metaphor floating in a vacuum. It is a direct reference to a literal, physical action occurring right there on a battlefield. Knowing the event instantly transforms a cryptic paradox into a crystal-clear historical commentary on divine assistance during that specific conflict. Those so-called useless words suddenly become intensely meaningful. The source material gives us another really excellent example of a historical clue that desperately needs decoding. Take a listen to this brief verse. "When the help of Allah has come and the victory." It sounds like a beautiful, triumphant statement, doesn't it? But from a scholarly perspective, it immediately raises a huge question. Wait, which victory? Because without knowing the historical context, that victory is totally obscure. Was it a political victory? A military one? The exact circumstances, and more importantly, the specific wisdom behind why Allah revealed this at that exact moment in time, are entirely lost without knowing the precise historical event that triggered it. You literally need the background knowledge of Asbāb al-Nuzūl to identify it. And this brilliantly illustrates the overall process of tafsir when scholars are dealing with these specific types of verses. First, you encounter a brief historical reference in the text. Second, you have to apply the lens of Asbāb al-Nuzūl to locate the specific catalyst or incident. And third, once that background is understood, you can properly focus and apply the timeless message. It's literally like adjusting the dial on a microscope or a camera lens. Suddenly, the blurry image becomes remarkably sharp and perfectly clear. Which leads us to a final, provocative thought to leave you pondering today. The Quran is viewed by its adherents as a timeless, eternal message. But as we've explored throughout this explainer, if the message is timeless, how does understanding its specific time change the way we read it today? The interplay between an eternal decree and its highly specific real-world historical catalyst is absolutely fascinating. It reminds us that to understand the universal, we often must first properly understand the particular. Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, keep asking those deep questions.